game, being a multiplayer tournament system, is underway. Going to enter internal testing next couple of weeks, and we're still on track for what we planned, which is to release it this quarter for sure. Hopefully the next few weeks.
Oh, awesome. So we're looking at potentially like less than even a month away. So
Yeah, well, let's not go back. Let's say this quarter to be safe.
okay,
But
this
but we're
quarter, yeah. I don't want to
yeah,
I don't want to give anybody false hope, but so we're
that's
not
right.
like miles away from this thing. We're getting pretty close, you think?
Correct. Yeah, just as a reminder, kind of where we're at. The game was actually done in the can, almost ready to release almost a year ago. Obviously, there were some complications on the business side, but that's all settled up. So we're psyched to have this back, and really happy it's launching because so much work went into it. Obviously, so much of the community participated by buying the packs. So we want to give everybody a great experience.
Yeah, and I had some brief conversations with people because I guess they don't really know like the full extent. So I kind of like briefly worked with you guys a little bit in the planning phase. And then I got moved on to another project. I got to meet you guys whenever we went out to Splinterfest. So I mean,
Yep.
I can only tell people so much, but like in general, I've tried to explain to people like, you guys are the real deal. You're passionate about this, and like if you're gonna get the game out, you're gonna get the game out. I think that's the big thing a lot of people have been concerned about is they're just like, is it ever coming? And I mean, I don't think it's necessarily all like on your team of why it's been held up or anything like that. I think it's just been a lot of bureaucracy and like red tape. But I'm glad to hear that we're getting really close to the finish line, and I think that's what a lot of people wanted to hear. So, what do you think with like the new additions? You think multiplayer is gonna make it a much more dynamic game, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of you may have played the closed beta when it was out a couple months ago. Hopefully you agree it's a good, solid tower defense game. It does have the particularity of being a game where you set up your towers, you set up your spells, and everything is predetermined later, right? Which is makes it a little bit different than other tower defense games. We realized that playing that single player and grinding on that becomes a little monotonous. So we have a what we think is a much more compelling approach of a daily tournament. Every day for every league, there'll be different tournaments, and we can show some imagery from that. It's going to be really just based on then players playing other players in a fair way, playing the same board. You can replay that board, replay that map, if you will. So it's already a lot more fun, even just playtesting it internally. It's just you get that competitive urge, and it's really fair and really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully, I boosted myself up a little bit, guys. Hopefully, you can hear me. I have a very low voice, and this is a problem I have a lot of times with microphones on computers. But hopefully that'll help. Yeah, man. I'm actually interested to see because I did a lot of beta testing on it internally before we went public, and this is new to me. So like whenever I found out you guys were going to be doing like the multiplayer aspects, I was pretty curious. You want to share some of that imagery?
Yeah, let me go ahead and do that.
Hey guys, we're gonna get some eye
So
candy.
yeah, that's always good. So we can also share, potentially video of the game itself later. The game itself is getting more tuned, more fun, more balanced, just in of itself. So there is a single player mode. You play the single player mode through different levels, and basically trying to achieve progress and get to new leagues, which takes work, which takes upgrading your NFTs, etc. Once you get to that point, though, you'll be able to enter these tournaments. There'll be these tournament tickets that you can earn, and also, of course, purchase. There will be an in-app purchase element to it, which we can get into later. And you can then play the tournament, rise up, and there'll be a daily pool of SPS rewards based on our existing reward pool, which will provide some nice rewards. And then as the game progresses, we plan to add to that pool and add to the rewards as the game is proving successful and feeding everything back to the community. So yeah, that's kind of the general idea. And again, and I won't beat around the bush. There will be an in-app purchase element to this. It's not essential. You'll be able to play for free. Once you have your NFTs, you'll be able to play the tournaments at least somewhat without any additional purchases. But if you want to keep playing, we do want to monetize on this. That's a key part to making the game sustainable, which is a real, it's a key point of any good game. The game can't exist if it's not able to support itself, and that's kind of the goal and the main way we think that will be a fun and fair way to monetize.
That's actually something that like I've been trying to, I guess, kind of like on some level instill in people as now that I'm like the project manager for the DAO, is that we have to be future thinking. We have to be thinking of like, so right now there is a white paper distribution for SPS, but like that ends in, I think it's like a little under 3 years now, right? So it's like
That's right.
I try to like constantly be telling people like you have to think of like what comes next, right? Like right now, it's all good. We can think like we got 3 years, helicopter money is just being printed, but it's like what are your plans after that 3 years? And I think that that's something a lot of people in crypto don't really think about is like the long term vision. But I mean, Splinterlands is over 5 years old now. I think going on 6 years. So I mean, to me,
Yeah.
it's not a stretch to imagine we're still going to be here in 3 years, right? And like, I think it would be really great, to see Soulkeep growing and thriving right alongside for like, like maybe the next decade. Who knows?
I mean that's kind of our intent, right? That's really what we're thinking is how to make this something that's a base. This first game's not going to have every feature that we want by far, right? But to make it a base that grows and that's sustainable. And sustainability is a real key. It's not something you can just give lip service to anymore.
Right. And I'm right there with you. This is actually something that like I'm very passionate about is trying to it's easy to like look at short-term solutions or like what can like just grab people like really quickly, but it's like what can you do to keep this thing running long term and just I'm glad to hear that that's the way you guys are approaching this, right? Because I mean, this is one of the things that I could say, even as like a Splinterlands team member, we used to get criticism for is like pushing out ideas before they're ready. Like having cells that like I mean, unfortunately, Soulkeep ended up kind of like being an example of this. Is like having a cell, and then like it's a long time before the game gets here. And again, like I'm not trying to put that on you guys. I know it's like there's a lot of bureaucracy. We're all pretty aware of that at this point, but I'm glad to hear that you guys had the right mentality when it comes to forward thinking.
Yep. That said, I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about for folks who already bought packs. The idea is at release that should be there's plenty to do. We're not going to be gouging folks. That's not the idea. Again, it's about sustainability, and we want to hear from you. I'm
Yeah.
sure there'll be a lot of positive and negative feedback, but we want to hear. But just to be aware, the game needs to be a business that works in its own right to keep living and growing like any game.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense because this is a criticism I've had before of like other projects that are like it feels like they just kind of like want to like tap onto the Splinterlands community and they don't really want to like develop their own identity. It's more just like how do we basically sell stuff to your community? And it's like especially with something like Soulkeep, I think there's a great opportunity for a symbiotic relationship. And like people had a lot of questions, but I think like some of
Yeah.
them we'll probably naturally touch on like just over the conversation. But like, are you guys still planning on like doing the integration for the Splinterlands NFTs, or is SPS going to be like tied into, I guess, like the earning mechanisms?
Yes. So at first, we're very, very closely coupled, as was the intent originally with the platform. The same, you'll be using your same Splinterlands account. You'll be using SBS. Could even use credits to purchase things if need be, and DEC. So everything is tightly coupled. In terms of the Splinterlands NFTs, we're not doing anything with that at launch, but there is an intent to do that down the line with to use the non-Soulkeep NFTs and maybe even vouchers. So we're trying to find smart ways to do that. But at launch, we're keeping it a little more siloed, at least in terms of the gameplay part.
Yeah, no, I got it. You gotta Let's get this thing going and then look for ways to add to it. I was kind of curious whether or not the NFTs would make the original launch, because I can remember like even back in the conceptual phase, it's kind of like we were trying to figure out like, are you going to stake them to a tower and all of that. So
Yep.
I don't know. I feel much more I guess like optimistic now that like because I've seen like how you guys would take the ideas and like run with it, and we would get like quick responses. So I'm personally like I'm optimistic whenever you say like you guys are looking for ways to do it, that it's not gonna take forever. So I think that that's good.
Yeah, and the reason we've decoupled it for now, we did originally have a lot of experiments putting it in there, but it needs to be a fun game that has its own economy and works in its own way, and then if we can find, and I believe we will find a way to blend things in logically and sensibly, but right now to do that would throw off the balance too much, make things unfair. We want this to be its own ecosystem to start with.
Yeah, that's actually something that I was wondering. It's like how do you like apply the cards to make like a meaningful impact without just like being broken, because some people have level 1 cards, some people have high level cards. Speaking of like card levels, is that something you guys are looking at with Soulkeep? There's going to be, if I remember correctly, again, like I have like old information, so like I don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it some of it was kind of like like a play and grow like through like experience and also like some card leveling? Is it like a hybrid approach?
Yeah, good question. So, pack opening and the whole upgrading or leveling up system is going to be very familiar to those who know Splinterlands. So it's going to be a similar type combination system. You're going to have multiple cards and combine them. There is, however, the addition of a veterancy system. So the more you actually play a given NFT, its veterancy will improve, and that will have benefits in the tournament.
Okay, so that's cool. So it's not just like buy your way into the strongest tower. Like you've got to actually be playing the game, and that's good to hear. Like,
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, to be precise, though, because it is an NFT, it is your asset, so you can still sell that to someone. So someone has to play that. Someone has to
oh,
play their way in there. Doesn't have to
interesting,
be you, right? Right. Like,
interesting.
so
So like
you can't.
your gameplay is also investing into your token too, in a way.
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct. So yeah, that should make some interesting dynamics. We'll see.
Interesting. Like now, see, like this is a cool idea, because I'm wondering if in some way, like maybe this will feed back into Splinterlands. Like maybe they'll take a page from that if it works out well, and like they'll start having some kind of like, like maybe like this particular card, like let's say your Grom has got Bloodlust 500 times or something. That'd be interesting. Now
Exactly.
you've kind of like got my mind going, because I didn't realize like how you guys were approaching that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we love the rentals idea too that Splinter already has, and being able to, um, for some folks who could level up their cards, they can't play anymore. Renting their cards out to other players is really great. So
Interesting. So we will have card combining. We will have like actual. I don't want to call it like experience, because like I don't really know like the full scope. But like your cards will have like some actual benefit from being played. So like that's good to hear.
yeah.
So
it
it
is it is
seems
kind of like experience. Yeah, it's like but it's based on winning, right? So the more a given unit wins, the more it becomes a veteran. Its veterancy points go up essentially.
interesting. So do you know like whenever it comes to combining, like let's say you have like your 4 towers picked out there, right? And like these are the types you're going to use whenever you're playing. Does like the more you level up your card, or like the more veterancy it has, like does that like in some way like equate to you can have like more tower, like more copies of that tower in play or something like that?
Yeah, so the main thing, just like with Splinterlands, is level, right? So level, as you level up a tower or a spell, its stats go up. So its base stats are going up, and then additionally, its base stats. One of the base stats might include how many how many times you can use that spell, or how many times you can use that tower in a level. So that's just one of the stats. Um, and essentially the way it works is you do need like the high level towers to play in the high level leagues, right? So it's kind of it's kind of a simple thing there, but you can try some interesting things, and a low level tower may be able to sneak in with a really good player and do well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was kind of curious. I don't know, like we're gonna have to see things in action, obviously, because this is very different than just your traditional like card game. And I mean that was the point, right? Like we were originally like discussing, like ways to branch out the Splinterlands brand beyond just being, like a kind of like an auto card battler. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm personally looking forward to it. I've still got a nice little stack of packs that I'm ready to open up and start playing personally. I,
Cool. Cool.
I think we still like this is, let's see, right now I want to say, yeah, we have like 43 people watching. So like, there's clearly people that are still interested. They still want to learn about Soulkeep because I would say this is even like as much or more that have been turning out to a lot of the town halls lately. So people are definitely excited. Let's see what you got on the screen now.
Yeah, just
Is
scrolling
this
through. So this is going to be the FAQ. I don't know if we'll release all this as a white paper, but we'll try to release this soon so people have a sense of the mechanics beyond what they may already have.
that is
But
actually
yeah, we
another
can go.
question people had was whether or not you were going to have a white paper.
Yep, yep. We will. The white paper is going to be much more focused on the stuff we know we're going to release, right? We don't want to make promises. We could definitely have a roadmap of upcoming ideas, but yeah, we want to be clear on what we're releasing, and it's going to act as a hopefully a fact and kind of documentation for folks to understand why they would want to embrace the game and jump in.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, let me see.
Awesome.
I'll try to like ask you a few of these while we're going through. Let's see. Has anything changed since the original announcement post? I mean, it sounds like we kind of pretty much covered like a lot of that. It sounds like basically most of the stuff's the same. You still want to integrate Splinterlands NFTs. You're just trying to figure out like a thoughtful way to do that without just kind of like shoving it in there just to say it's in there. Let's see. Are you guys planning to
Exactly.
market? Are you guys planning to market Soulkeep? Like, are you going like mobile? Going to be like in the app stores?
That's a great question. Yeah. So our vision for Soulkeep is to release on Splinterlands, of course, at first. Purely web-based. It'll be mobile web and desktop web. It's actually a nice game that plays well on mobile if you want to. Um, once that's balanced and kind of viable at the point we want, we may well. I don't want to go into the fundraising aspect of that, right? So the marketing involves funds. So there's multiple ways to raise funds, and we'll talk about that later. But that's the goal. Yeah, we want to go big with the game, put it out as kind of a Web 2.5, to use that buzzword, game on Apple and Google, which you kind of have to do, right? Because they have limited amount of wallet integrations and NFTs that they allow you to sell. But we want to go out there as a standard free to play fun game, get people onboarded, get people interested in the game, and then start weaning folks into the crypto side, onto the blockchain side. So that's the goal. That's the vision. And we think this gameplay lends itself to that because the single player kind of free to play game is fun and could be made tailored for that audience, and we think it'll market well. And ultimately, like any game, once we've gotten the flywheel going and once we're getting revenue coming in, a huge chunk of that revenue should go to new user acquisition, which helps the whole community to grow and helps the whole gameplay to grow. And you have more players playing in the tournaments, and you have more players involved, and that's what we all want, right? So that's what's good for the game, and the game business is good for the players, and it's all it's all one of a kind. So it just has to be a burgeoning ecosystem, and marketing is definitely part of that.
Yeah, man, trust me, I fully understand the pain points of trying to operate within the app stores. This is this is something that like I've personally kind of like tried to educate a lot of people on. Because people are always like, why does the Splinterlands app suck? and I'm like, you got to understand it's more complicated than just why does the Splinterlands app suck. It's like you can't really have like an actual Web3 game as an app. Like you really just can't. The app
You have to
stores
tie
do
yourself
not.
into knots.
Right, like
Yeah.
they want their monopoly on the monetary aspect. So whenever you try to introduce workarounds, like they shut you down. Now
Yeah.
we have seen some Web3 quote unquote like games try to like build Web2 apps that tie into their game. Um, but yeah, like it's just like it's very complicated. Like I've personally been trying to think of ways we can get around it. So far, the best option that I've found is just build a really good mobile site and then maybe like work
Yeah.
on like Hive keychain integration because Hive keychain app actually works. But like, trust me, I feel your pain points on that. Let's see, like,
And, and and one note too, like I mentioned, Apple and Google, because it works, the game is already built as a responsive game. We actually already have conversations with Epic as well. So
oh
Steam is very anti NFT stuff and blockchain stuff, but Epic is pretty open to it. So
yeah,
that's another interesting distribution point.
that is interesting because I was not even thinking about that. But yeah, that is interesting. I have been watching and paying attention to that. That like Epic seems to be taking that stance. I think Epic does a lot of their strategy around just kind of like a bit of a kind of like a screw you to Valve because Valve has such like a big kind of like monopoly on PC gaming at this point. But it's interesting to see that like who knows, maybe Epic will be the maybe they will be the champion of like Web3 kind of like expanding to the mainstream because like if you think about a game like Fortnite with like how it has like all the skins and stuff like that, this is something whenever I was a bit younger, I used to play a lot of CS:GO and they would have like the weapon skins and we would always get in trouble for like buying and selling them for cash. Like Valve would try to like lock down people's accounts, but it's like this is what people want. People want like an actual,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, like ability to own their in-game
absolutely.
stuff.
And that's a wider conversation, but that's why I'm still a big believer that Web3 gaming needs to exist. The community, everyone who complains about NFTs actually wants it. They just don't know they want it yet. So we just need to. That's my belief.
Dude,
So we need
I'm
to.
right there with you, Ed. I really
Yeah.
am. Let's see. So the packs. I know we mentioned packs, and this is a question people have been asking. Are you guys planning on selling more packs like in the near term? Are the packs that people have been buying and holding are they special? Like are they like your alphas, your first editions? Like
Yep.
I guess getting into the hard questions.
No, those are great questions. Yeah, we are not planning on selling packs again in the near term. So the only additional way the game will monetize in the near term is selling of these tournament tickets. So yeah, we want the original pack holders to be rewarded for coming in early and being so damn patient. And yeah, I don't know. Again, the goal is to make the game sustainable. So we don't know like what extra powers, abilities, special things these packs will have. That's way out in the future in terms of it, but that's always going to be top of mind is keeping the original pack holders uh, feeling like they got something of special rare value because they came in early. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely good to hear. I think that's something that people have been concerned about, knowing that kind of like they feel like the project's been stuck in limbo, like they don't know. Like, I mean, I know you guys like a little bit more than I think a lot of these people do. Like, I know you guys actually have like a successful company that develops lots of games. It's not just like this isn't like your only thing that you're working on. So uh, I don't personally feel like you guys are like super strapped for cash. Like like you have to like get this out and just start printing money to be able to survive or anything, right? I mean, I get like what you're saying. You want to monetize this, make sure it's like set up for long-term success. But like you're not coming out like strapped for cash and desperate to like make a buck or anything, right?
No, definitely not. It's not about being desperate to make a buck. It's about the game being its own business that's sustainable, right? It's like
Right.
as simple as that. And I know that sounds kind of lame and businessy, but that's kind of the reality of anything. Like it has to be supporting itself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get it. Like servers cost money, especially like if you're going to be moving into, or if you're like looking into moving into app stores. All of these companies like they want to cut. Then you have to deal with all the complications of Web 2 payments in a Web 3 world. So like I get it. There's a lot of overhead to consider. So I like to me going into this with the
Yeah.
mentality that you have to have like some kind of like reasonable monetization makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people are just
Yeah,
concerned
and
that like they bought packs and then you're going to be like, well, you have to also buy these packs.
right. No, no, that really, really want to avoid anything like that. Of course, I think it's likely there'll be pack sales in the future. What shape that takes is to be determined, and it's also likely we'll try to find other ways to raise funds in the future. And again, the reason for that is to go bigger, right? To go bigger with the game, to go wider across different platforms and ecosystems, and to do that, you need a war chest for marketing, you need a war chest for further development, etc.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's see. So we've got that one out of the way. Heroes. Um, like so I know I had a question about heroes like originally because I think that like the way it was originally done, like the only hero was part of like a pre-sale bonus, right? Like so, are you guys like balancing around heroes? Is there going to be like any other access to hero? Like, are you at a disadvantage if you didn't get the pre-sale hero but you still have packs?
Yeah, so the hero, steer here. The difference with the heroes, it's like a tower that you can drop anywhere and change around. And she has some really cool synergies. We have one hero because of the amount of packs we sold. So at launch, there's only going to be that one hero. She's a archer, and she can hit multiple enemies at once in an interesting way. And then we plan to definitely release other heroes now, whether that's through further pack sales or whatnot. We're still noodling on. Um, and yeah, you definitely do have an advantage if you have the hero. So um, you make sure to get one.
Yeah, like one thing that I'm thinking, and this is just me, like thinking off the top of my head, but like a game like this really seems like it could probably use like a battle pass type of system. Like maybe, especially like if you're trying to monetize tournaments and stuff, perhaps there's like some sort of battle pass where you pay like, X amount and you get so many tournament entries. Maybe like that's a good way to like, boost promos. Like if you have to do a new, like maybe like there's a new hero that like you can only get by like doing the battle pass, and it's not just straight money. Like there's some play involved. I mean, you guys have a lot of opportunity to do things different than just like the way that we've been doing things with Splinterlands, and I think, personally, like I'm excited to see what you guys come up with because it's like seeing a different approach that can also tie back in. I think there's a lot of opportunity for just attracting different types of players and just giving different entry points into this ecosystem that can have different benefits.
100%. Yeah, so Battle Pass is very much in our tool belt. And what's cool about Battle Pass is you get stuff even for free, right? So if you don't want to pay and subscribe to the Battle Pass or pay the monthly, whatever it is, the seasonal fee or the monthly fee, however the case may be, there'll be some free stuff too you can earn. So yeah, we love Battle Passes as a mechanic that just gives a lot of value to people that want to take advantage of it.
That's awesome. Let's see. So I know they asked about the white paper. We already touched on that. I just want to try to make sure I'm catching everybody's questions.
Yeah.
Some of these I gathered beforehand. Let's see. So we touched on future sales. Is we touched on Splinterland cards. Like I said, I felt like a lot of this was just going to kind of like come up during the natural conversation. Have you guys talked to any of like the third-party tools that like I guess do things for Splinterlands? Like, are you guys familiar with Peak Monsters or Splex or like Splinter cards? Do you guys? I want to say I think Splinter cards might actually track Nightmare packs. I'm not 100% on that, but like these like third-party developers are usually like really quick at integrating with Splinterlands, and I mean they can. I don't know, like to some extent, they almost have like in the past like picked up the slack in some areas. Like Peak Monsters was the first big market that like would allow you to do things like buy more than like a single card at a time and stuff like that. So it's like usually like they'll find ways to like boost your functionality and make your game better. Like, are you guys familiar with these guys, or have you talked to any of them?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I haven't enough of members of our team have, but it's permissionless, right? This is all out there. It's on
Right.
literally the same code, the same. It should almost be copy and paste code and just putting in the new IDs. So peak monitors, we would be tickled if they, included the Soulkeep NFTs once they're out there. There's no reason they shouldn't. And to be clear, at launch, even you know even the existing market is going to be the existing Splinterlands market. So the UI to buy the NFTs, to sell them in a peer-to-peer fashion, to rent them, will all be right now on top of the Splinterlands platform. That's one of the things that they've been kind enough to provide us, and we're very very coupled and have a very strong relationship, obviously, with them. So anything that works for Splinterlands should work for Soulkeep.
That's awesome, and I'm sure like I know some of these guys. I'm pretty sure they're probably already thinking about it. But worst case scenario, I'm especially with like Jarvie and the Peak Monsters guys. Like I've got like a decent connection with them. Like I can probably reach out. If we need to touch on anything there and try to figure it out. Let's see. Are so tournaments? The Are they going to reward SPS? Because like I know like that's one of the things whenever we get into kind of like tying in with the DAO. Like the DAO has like basically apportioned some percent of like SPS to rewards. Are you looking at like that's what the tournaments are going to reward as SPS, or is there like basic gameplay or?
Yeah, so you'll win other things. There's these ideas of these things called souls, which you use to advance, which are basically not they're basically soul bound. They're basically just a non-chain currency. You could win packs potentially as well. So there might be some packs set aside that could be won. But the main reward is SPS. So we have an SPS pool. But back to my comment before about sustainability, the whole idea is to think about beyond that, right? Once that SPS pool is gone, or if we want to make that pool bigger, how do we do that? And to do that, we need to um, make the game bigger.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things too. This is something that's like kind of like been on my mind. And I've obviously like I've never talked to you about this, but just throwing it out there, like, we're starting to see like the Splinterlands company synergize a lot more with the DAO. Well, essentially like we're the governance token for Splinterlands, and we provide the rewards for like the gameplay and stuff. Is that something like you're thinking about? Like, is there any maybe like future collaboration there between like the SPS DAO and Soulkeep? I don't want to, I don't want to like get into all your funding stuff because I mean I know like you got like a lot of top level discussions probably going on, but like for example, the Rebellion pack sale that Splinterlands is doing right now, like basically the DAO put money up front and then like we split the revenue going forward. Does any of this sound like stuff that would be interesting to you guys to consider at some point, or?
Million percent, yeah, yeah. And whether it's the SPS DAO or our own DAO, we're probably a few a few beats away from anything as large as that, just because of again, we need to prove the sustainability first. But
Right.
yeah, I absolutely love that model, where it's community driven, community funded, and then community, all the growth is really at the behest and driven by the community. So absolutely love the model. We need some mechanism in place of our own to do that, but in the meantime, we'll try to work with the existing DAO structures that are there.
Okay, I think we covered all the questions that I saw, but I'm watching chat, so if you guys want to ask anything that I missed in the near term, I'll let David just keep showing us like his presentation that he's got going on, and I'll let him know if I see any questions pop up.
Cool.
Is this like the white paper you're working on, or is this like a post?
Yeah, so this is a combination of a FAQ, which we definitely will put out when the game launches, and in some subset of it as the white paper. So it'll go into kind of discrete detail of how all the mechanics of all the math, all the economics work.
Let's.
And then obviously just simple, yeah, simple how to play stuff.
I do see that there's a question about if there will be like a new roadmap because clearly like the I guess like the original roadmap kind of got kind of got like pushed by the wayside. And I see somebody asking if you guys are planning to like release your own token or like will Soulkeep have a specific token at some future point? Obviously like we don't have to get into like logistics or anything, but are these things that are like on your mind or?
Yeah, so let's take them one at a time. So the on the token, definitely too early to tell. It's really going to depend on the growth plan. And as far as the growth plan and the roadmap, what one thing I think we made a mistake on is trying to plan like almost in a waterfall fashion. This feature followed by this feature followed by this feature. Instead, what we'd like to put out is more like a roadmap that doesn't have dates, but a roadmap of ideas, and ideally even involve the DAO or some community voting mechanism for what people want the most and care about the most to help guide us on what we do next in a more agile fashion, right? So that we're always releasing, we're always putting stuff out there. Obviously, for the first few releases, the whole goal is going to be about rebalancing, looking at some of our assumptions on how fun the game is and how the economy works versus the reality, which never matches the model, right? So the core focus after release is going to be getting the game really tuned 100% properly. And yeah, and then from there, things like battle pass, things like multiplayer that's more synchronous. And then of course, moving to other platforms, like we mentioned, in a more kind of Web 2.5 free to play packaging of the game to draw a wider audience in. That's all on our mind. We don't have dates for them. It's all gonna, frankly, depend on how the game does.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to like go out being, I think it's good to be ambitious, but I think it's good to also be realistic, right? Because you don't want to just like sell pipe dreams or anything like that. Like, let's go out, see if people are playing it, see if people want more, and if people want more, give them more. Like it makes a lot of sense to me.
Exactly.
Will Soulkeep have its own Discord server? Because like right,
So
right, right
we
now, like we're kind of just like I think doing it like as like a little room in the Splinterland. So
yeah, yeah, definitely, it definitely will. Part of again, to be transparent, we don't have a full-time community person, unfortunately, right? We wish we did. We just don't have the staff for that. That's the goal as well, right? If the game can reach that level, we would love to bring someone like that on. In the meantime, it's going to be a Discord server, maybe a Telegram channel, and we'll try to be present there as much as can. One thing we can pledge to do is, and we're doing now, is to put out biweekly uh, blog posts, which I know isn't the best communication, but we're trying to at least make sure to answer any questions we see. So we are paying attention to the existing Discord. We're keeping any questions we see, and we're trying to answer those in blog posts and at least start with that. Hopefully, getting into more regular cadence of really being present in the Discord or Telegram channel, and then also eventually maybe town halls and such. But yeah, so again, just trying to be very transparent about
yeah,
our resources and our focus, right?
yeah, that makes sense. I think everybody would pretty much unanimously agree that we'd rather you guys working on the game than talking about working on the game. But that said, if you guys do go with like opening up your own Discord server, I'm sure you got a few people like even Splinterlands, like they have volunteer mods from the community. I'm sure you get some people that will help you guys like answer like the most basic questions and kind of like keep people from being too rambunctious, in chat. So we've got a good community to build off of, and I think there's a lot of people that will, help out if you guys open up a Discord server. Just, and I can help out too. Like, let me know. I can point some good guys your direction, and it's just like a good starting place to kind of like centralize communications for what you guys are working on to kind of like collect feedback. Even once you go live, you're gonna want somewhere to like report bugs and talk to devs or
Yep.
whatever. So it makes a lot of sense. Like Discord has its problems, but it really does work well for gaming, in my opinion.
100%. And we, of course, will also have a ticketing system, right? Sort of a help desk ticketing system and support portal. Uh, needless to say, and that's something we're used to staffing, and that goes right into our, any bug reported there goes right into our customer support team and QA, and definitely looked at. So yeah, we 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 want to get the game as polished as possible, as quickly as possible. It's not going to be perfect at day one, and any multiplayer game or even single player game never is. So
Well, I think the important thing is to, like you guys are committed to continually like updating it and keeping it developed. Let me see. We got this was touched on like way back at the beginning, but I think some people have joined since then. A lot of people want to know the time frame for the release. I know you're saying this quarter. Is that Q1?
well, that would be one more day. So not Q1.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
the,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
super familiar with how the whole quarter thing works because I know like it's like apparently like some countries like their quarters are even different than just like
uh,
yeah. But so I know like originally you said like you're looking at like within the next few weeks, but like you don't want to like
yeah,
hard commit and then like miss a date. But
that's right. So
you're
yeah,
not seeing this as like something far off.
well, we will hard commit to Q2 for sure. So but I'd like it to be more the middle of Q2, not the end. But yes, that's
Okay.
that's
So guys, hopefully that will encourage you. Like it's like we're not getting an exact date, but we are supposed to be getting a hard commitment here within Q2, and it sounds like David doesn't want to be overly optimistic, so I'm not going to speculate too much. But it seems like they're pretty grounded on getting this thing released ASAP.
Yep. And again, I want to give huge thanks to the Splinterlands and to Matt, because they're supporting this release. They're helping to build some of the connective tissue, and we couldn't do it without them. And it's going to be yeah, it's going to be good.
That's one thing that I find interesting is this is going to be the first time we have a project that's like directly intertwined. Like we can look at like GLS and I think like the Moon Cards thing now, but like these are like separate and they live in like their own like little silo. So this is the first time
Yep.
we're going to have something directly tied into Splinterlands. It's going to be existing on the Splinterlands site. The NFTs are going to be on the Splinterlands market, so there's a lot of
Yep.
interoperability and connectivity to kind of figure out. But it sounds like you guys are on top of it, and I'm hopeful we get to be playing before too long because I haven't got to play since the I guess like the open or like the beta testing days for the people that bought the packs, and I'm interested to see how things have evolved.
Yep. And I think to summarize a lot of what we talked about already, being so involved and connected to Splinterlands is an opportunity and also a bit of a challenge, right? The opportunity is that we get to, already launch with some great structures in place, and obviously the SPS reward pool, etc. Um, and the opportunity is great for Splinterlands, hopefully, that we can grow together, right? And this game could bring the vision always was that this game could bring more people into Splinterlands and vice versa, right? So that there's just more to do and more different styles of play for more audiences or wider audience. Um, but there's also the opportunity to go beyond Splinterlands, and but we just have to be very careful and do that in a way that's still sustaining the core game, which is very coupled. So yeah, so kind of a long-winded thing, but just to make that we're aware of the challenges, and we think we in the game are up for it, and we could figure out an additive way to make the game grow and expand beyond Splinterlands.
So here's a good question, and this is something that I think previously has been used to like kind of like build up a little bit of hype. Do you know if people will be able to open their packs before the game like is playable? Like maybe maybe like whenever you're ready to set a date, right? Like whenever you're ready to set that date and say like, we're going live in, 2 weeks or a month or whatever. Um, do you think people will be able to like open their packs and get their cards kind of like combined up and stuff? I mean, like to me, like that's pretty much Splinterland's functionality. So like once they get the market up, I would imagine that that stuff should work.
It should work. Yeah, that's an interesting point in question. And yeah, if we think that's will add to the hype, we definitely will strongly consider it.
Okay, cool. So there you guys go. Not a hard commitment, but now we put the bug in their ear. So let's just see how it works.
Yeah.
Did you have any other stuff you wanted to cover today, or I'm thinking we've covered all the questions that I've seen. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Is there going to be a gold card equivalent? Like, are you going to, like, is some percentage of your tower is going to be like a gold foil tower or, whatever you call it?
Yes. It is. We're actually calling it gold foil just to be in
Consistent?
line with folks are used to. And yeah, it'll be similar kind of rarities. And yes, that'll be part of it. We're not clear yet if having a gold foil will give you outsized gameplay advantages, but it'll definitely give you earning advantages.
See, that's the way that Splinterlands approached it. And I think it makes the most sense. Like, you don't want like gold cards to be like broken overpowered, but if they do have like an earning benefit, then that is like there is the extra value incentive there.
Yep. Yep.
Let's see. Well, Lewis, we already touched on that. Whether they release a token or not is going to basically be tied to the success of the project. So well,
Yeah, but no, right now, no plan to do it. Obviously, that's a whole
yeah.
other layer of complexity.
Yeah, like I mean, basically, like if the project goes gangbusters and everybody's like soul keep, soul keep, soul keep, give us more. Like maybe that's a future discussion. But let's see. With SPS nodes eventually going live, uh, will Soulkeep use SPS chain? I don't know if that's really a question for you. It's more like I mean, all SPS interactions should be going through the SPS chain. If Soulkeep is rewarding SPS, like I guess like in some way, like it'll probably be tied to it.
Yeah, I think that's right. But yeah, I don't. That doesn't. That's not stuff that our engineers are touching
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
more of like a Splinterlands question. Let's see. It's debatable if Arcade Colony would be a more natural platform for Soulkeep. Uh, Well, no, I would say no, but I mean, I'll let David answer for himself. But I mean, like Soulkeep has been designed from day one to be part of Splinterlands, correct?
Yeah, but just like we talked about, Epic being potential store, there's multiple folks trying to be the quote unquote Steam of Web3.
Yeah,
We're talking to a bunch of them, and if there's an interesting kind of distribution advantage in partnering there, we will strongly consider it for sure. I mean, and any game would be stupid not to. So yeah, it's a cool way to again to widen the audience and bring more people in, both Soulkeep and Splinterlands.
yeah. I know people had asked before about like whether or not we might would see like Splinterlands, moving into something like Epic. It's like it's so complicated whenever you start getting into the intricacies of this stuff because I think a lot of people don't realize just how not conducive to Web3 these Web2 companies are. Like even the ones that are putting on a good face, like even Epic that's like, come here. I think that's more just as like a alternative to Steam since Steam is so against it. But now whenever you start working with these Web2 companies, you got to deal with things like chargebacks. Like there's so many like different levels to you got to be able to deal with like, well, what do you do if they like ban accounts? How do you set up wallets for these Web2 accounts? It's like there's a lot of complexities that I think a lot of people don't realize, and to me, especially when you get into the financial stuff, right? Like, for example, if you're selling an NFT or like a pack of NFTs that has a set price, whenever you sell on these third parties, you're taking a cut from that, which has its own issues. But whenever you get into dealing with things like chargebacks and like now the NFTs are out there, it's like a point of attack. So it's not just like like a risky business move. It's like a point of attack on your entire like Web3 economy if people can go in and like buy packs with cash and then charge back on you in 6 months, and these NFTs have been sold. So it's like
Yeah, there's
it's
all
something.
sorts
Yeah,
right. There's all sorts of weirdnesses there, and it's even unclear if you sell in the secondary market peer to peer if you have to pay a
yeah,
tax on some of these stores. So, um, but I think the bigger thing with these stores is you're appealing to non-degen audience, right? It's folks who you have to have a game that's fun and immediately playable and appealing to people who are gamers in the mass market and not Web3 gamers, right? And the nice thing about Soulkeep is a lot of the design has that in mind. So a lot of the onboarding and the original flow should appeal to gamers of all stripes, and that's kind of the goal. So yeah, we think it's very very viable for it to go wide.
yeah, yeah. It's something that like I don't know, personally, like I've just spent a lot of time trying to think about like how do you work around the Web 2 problems in a Web 3 ecosystem. So I'm glad you guys are thinking about it. Let's see. Well, we already touched on heroes at launch. It's just going to be the hero from the pre-sale, but they are like looking into options for more. I don't want to keep asking you the same questions. I'm just touching on audience stuff here.
Yeah.
Can we assume that there will be interactions with Splinterland's main game? Like this is actually interesting. Do you see like any maybe like future potential to where uh, man, I think it would be like impossible to try to balance this with like every card, obviously, because there's like I think like 700 or 800 now. But like, do you see any way that like maybe you'll have like Splinterland's characters as heroes in Soulkeep? Like maybe you can get like a Grum that's like the big melee guy that'll stand in the middle with his hammer and just like start like whacking at people, or maybe you can get like a mage or an archer, and do you see any potential for Splinterland's characters making a crossover?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had a lot of discussions along those lines, but I think that'd be cool. We love a lot of those characters. Uh, it would have to fit the gameplay balance and as well as the lore for both games. But yeah, I think there's a lot of overlap, a lot of potential there. Um, and potentially even with other games too.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Like I would. That's one thing that like I've always was like kind of hoping for with Splinterlands is that maybe we would start seeing some crossovers. And I mean, so far we've got well, we got Waka Flocka, but I would like to see. I was really really hoping we would get a Spawn card because I think there was like some like early stage discussions about trying to get Spawn like a Spawn card in Splinterlands, but I don't think it panned out. Man, like it would be really awesome to start seeing like different brands kind of tie into the ecosystem. Let's see. So that touches on the character question.
And again, and just to muse on a on a completely just uh, there's no plan to do this now, but right, the nice thing about multiplayer is having things in your game and in your map that are a little more user generated, a little more on the skins side, where it becomes appealing. So even if there's no big gameplay change or big balancing change to having some other characters or elements from other brands or other games, right? Like having them in there as a cosmetic has proven popular, and I think there's some fun stuff to do, but the game has to be big first, has to be fun first, has to be just a great experience first before any of that can happen.
Makes sense. Let's see. We got a question that says I played the game in testnet and loved it. So that's a good question.
Oh, thank you.
Let's
Cool.
see. This one. Do you
Yeah,
do you plan on another beta test, or
yeah.
are you guys just going to like get this thing launched? Like, what's
I was
your
actually
mentality?
just kind of addressing that before you even asked the question. So, yeah, I think we not I think we absolutely will put out another beta test. Unclear how open or closed we'll make it. We'll talk about it, but that just even as a technical test, as a way to experience stuff before um, before opening up the token side where things have to be perfect, right? So even as a tech test and making sure everything's working, everything's flowing, absolutely, we're going to do a beta test. So that'll come, even sooner.
Okay, and onboarding. Are you planning for like some like a free to play kind of like version where people can come in and like try out the game before buying packs and stuff like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have what are called, a lot of games do this now, but what are called like starter towers. So they're essentially level 0 towers and level 0 spells. You'll be able to come in and play a couple of the levels, really, understand the game, and then kind of decide if it's for you and you want to start getting packs and really, playing for realsies.
Awesome. I know we're coming up on about an hour, and I don't want to monopolize too much of your time today. We definitely appreciate you coming out and answering questions. I've been getting a lot of questions. I've been, hopeful that we could get this together. You have any other like high level points you want to touch on, or?
No, and I appreciate that you put this together. Thank you so much, and appreciate the community a lot. And again, apologize that we're not more present and more kind of you know out there promoting. But I promise we are in here building, and promotion will come when that's ready.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, we definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and hope maybe whenever we get a little closer to launch, either we can get like a Splinterlands town hall going where I mean I know Matt, so either like Matt will have you on, or if we have to do it this way, I can do another one when we get ready for launch. Whatever works for you guys. But I'm here to help. Just let me know if you need something, and obviously I'm pretty tapped into the Splinterlands community.
No, usually appreciate it. And like I said, like when we do that beta, it'd be great to stream some stuff, see real people play, hear people's positive and negative reactions in real time. Like the team would get a lot out of that. So we would love
Awesome.
that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, man, I appreciate you meeting with us today and answering all of our questions. And I would like to say I appreciate the audience keeping things you know upbeat and positive. I wasn't really sure what to expect. We've got people all over the spectrum in the community, but it's pretty cool seeing a lot of positivity and a lot of excitement today. I think people are just ready to start playing, man.
Really appreciate it. And yeah, we're this has been a long time coming for us too. So we really can't wait to get real human beings enjoying it.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you, man, and thanks for taking the time. I'm gonna go ahead and log off the stream. So thanks for you guys coming to join us
Have a good
today, and
weekend.
hopefully